Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a great and wonderful day. And unfortunately, today we're going to be talking about reparations. Again. Because it always seems the black people of today, which will be part of my actual stream coming up soon, that reparations is a big thing for black people for some kind of apparent reason. And they're always talking about reparations, and Brian Johnson is always talking about these type of things, or Mayor Johnson rather, is talking about reparations, and it's kind of disgusting. And let me quickly go over it because stupidity seems to fill the brains of uneducated and wanting and greedy Black Americans that seem that they are owed something, even though it's been I don't know how many years since slavery. So again, we're going to be showing a clip here of what's been going on.
Event downtown today as Mayor Johnson announcing plans for a reparations task force.
That group will study how policies have harmed Black Chicagoans in the past and present and make a number of recommendations for remedies. Paris Schutz has the latest on how Mayor Johnson wants to provide a remedy for the descendants of slavery and Jim Crow era oppression. Paris?
Now, the problem that I have with this is that how do you end up proving that black people are underpaid, that black people are being racially attacked and stuff like that, right? Like, it's very, very difficult to do so. It's not like when somebody goes and actively says, oh, I'm going to go play this black person more or what have you, because I don't think normal people actually go and do that. And two, and it's not like the same thing to where somebody would go into a black dominated area, right, and just go shoot a whole bunch of black people. So you can't. It's really hard to show racial discrimination in that way. And even still, you have to prove it. And if you can't prove it, then it doesn't really make any sense. On top of that as well, if we even go outside of that realm, outside of that reality, we get to see that before and after. So you're going to have to talk to every black American, look up every black American that's in that city or in that state, and see how far back to go to where he was into slavery. So you're going to have to go and do that. And two, the white people of today don't even have anything tied to slavery. The only way you could possibly do this is if you have white people from the Jim Crow era, but even still, that's dumb, because that was pushed back against the white people in the first place. So I don't see what they're doing here. The reparations thing is completely stupid. It's just greedy, again, as I said, it's just greedy black people wanting to get money because they just don't want to get up on their own merits. It's almost like I can't wait to do my stream because it's going to make a lot of black people feel hurt or attacked, because the reality is just too far from the truth, and it's just the way it is, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, Terrence and Sylvia, Chicago would become the second largest U.S. city after Los Angeles to study reparations for black residents. And Johnson's executive order begins with an apology on behalf of the city for the historical wrongs committed to black Chicagoans and their ancestors.
Reparations will be an investment in our neighborhoods and our people. Reparations will unlock the doors for prosperity to fully flow through the neighborhoods that have been disinvested in for decades. And as we grapple with the challenges and the hard-fought victories to get to this point, we must never forget our goal to make sure that reparations become a reality for black residents of this city.
So this executive order creates a reparations task force that will create a
the amount of money is, as we always come down to the amount of money, right? Like, where it comes down to reparations and how they're going to do it and how they're going to actually get the funding. They never explain on how they're going to actually get the funding. And again, you're only going to be getting funding from white people, which, by the way, is illegal. You can't just take money from a certain race or group of people because, again, that's illegal. You have to actually prove that any of these companies or any of these things that have been done is because of actual racism. And you can't prove that. There is no proof that that is the case. It is against our law, against our country's law to do so. So I don't know where they're going with this. There's a whole bunch of other stuff too that I want to bring up as well with the amendments that we've had and the huge amount of strides we had in the past 40 plus years to where it's no longer a problem. As I've always said before, that racism is on a is on life support. You can't really have racism if this doesn't really exist. And it exists, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was previously before. As I said, we made humongous strides about these things due to racism. And then even with the alphabet community, we made tremendous strides about that. Now, I'm not going to get into the alphabet community, but those strides have already been done with. We just have other strides that we have to make a hurdle of that we have to shut down. But again, these reparations are incredibly stupid. And making sure they're wanting to apologize to white people or apologize to black people and have the white people be blamed for all this is insanity. Again, there are white people that think racism is wrong, so you're gonna make them pay for things. I know all my friends that I am friends with are not racist people. So I just don't know where they're going with this. It's incredibly stupid and naive to think that this is like the type of thing that they just deem as okay or worthy of. It's a huge waste of their time, a huge waste of our time, taxpayer money, and they need to find a way to pay for this.
Definition and framework for reparations, identify areas for restorative action like in housing, jobs, education, criminal justice. It'll conduct a comprehensive study of the harmful policies that have contributed to segregation and poverty in Chicago. So think about things like housing discrimination, redlining, and the construction of interstates that divided neighborhoods, etc. And finally, it will make recommendations to the mayor and city council for action. The mayor has pledged $500,000 for this effort in the current city budget. No word on whether the study will come up with a funding source to provide resources for reparations. 38th Ward Alderman Nick Sposato acknowledges the evils of slavery, but says he believes this task force is questionable.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, all the task force are questionable. Like, you can't really, it's like, again, you gotta find a way to get the actual amount of funding for this, right? And as I've always said, the task force is always questionable. Now, we're gonna go down to, obviously, the, for schooling and for schooling, housing, job like money and economy, stuff like that. Well, first off, Mayor Johnson, you need to find a way to curve down the crime. When you curve down the crime and you allow businesses to stay open, when you allow people to be able to prosper, when you reduce taxes, be able to put more money into their bank, and all that, you can actually solve a lot of these problems. However, again, something we'll be mentioning in the stream, the black community's actual problem in general when it comes to crime is that there are no fathers in the home, and you need to emphasize on actually wanting to get fathers in the home and making sure all this is going on. And without doing that, you're just going to have another generation of young kids wanting to commit crime because they're lashing out because there's no guidance or fatherly figure in the home. It's just that straight and simple. Like, there's more to this than just the crime, right? Like, it's all interconnected. You got to do many things here, and I know he's not going to do that. I know he's just going to go and take this money he gets from whatever source or business that he has and call it good. And, like, for instance, another thing too is, like, once you solve the crime, you're able to have more, as I said, more businesses, and then after you get more businesses up, you can be able to have, more people to be able to buy houses, more people to get apartments, etc., etc. Like, things will all start to fix themselves as well. So again, there's a lot of things you just need to do here that that will fix the problem here, and I know you just won't do that.
Who divisive is going to divide us even more? By us, I'm saying the city, not the council. I don't know what the fairness about it would be. Of course, they didn't come out the report yet. Maybe the report will say, no, it's not necessary, but I highly doubt that.
And 16th Ward Alderwoman Stephanie Coleman praised the move. Remember, Johnson has taken some heat from black Chicagoans who are upset about resources going to newly arrived asylum seekers. This perhaps a way to reestablish his commitment to them.
Yeah, again, there's more things we're going to talk about Mayor Johnson as well, where he was also committing, like, tax fraud. Oh, wow, amazing. It's like almost like it's a common thing with the Democrats here. So again, yeah, he needs to go address the illegal immigration thing where he's deporting them or removing them all away from the actual state. He has to fix the crime. He needs to emphasize more fathers in the home. He needs to he needs to make sure that that you are able to get jobs and stuff like that. And then once you are able to do that, you're fine. But asking reparations and blaming white people for racism is insanity to me. It's actually insane. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know where this is going with. It's all stupidity. Am I all reality? I always say in my opinion, but I just think it's just fact. I think it's just completely stupid that you have demanding reparations, even though it's just not a thing, right? And then you have this here as well, that we have the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. 1968, passed by Congress June 13th, 1966, and ratified July 9th, 1968, the 14th Amendment extended liberties and rights granted by the Bill of Rights to formerly enslaved people. So, you know, even if you were enslaved or what have you, you had the Bill of Rights from before, and then you had the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Provisions of the Civil Rights Act forbade discrimination on the basis of sex as well as race in hiring, promoting, and firing. The act prohibited discrimination in public accommodations and federally funded programs. It also strengthened the enforcement of voting rights and the desegregation of schools. And again, when we have Mayor Johnson here talking about things, he's talking not to the actual whole state. He's talking to just black people, specifically black people in themselves. And when you talk about just black people, it just doesn't come off right. It comes off wrong, comes off disgusting, comes off as racist, and I don't think the courts are even going to remotely allow this to even go through, because again, you're taking funds and giving it to a certain race group, even though that is just not allowed. It says the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is the nation's benchmark civil rights legislation and continues to resonate in America. Passage of the act ended the application of Jim Crow laws, which had been upheld by the Supreme Court in 1996, case Plessy versus Ferguson, in which the court held that racial segregation purported to be separate but equal was constitutional. The Civil Rights Act was eventually expanded by Congress to strengthen enforcement of these fundamental civil rights. So, again, they pretty much crush Jim Crow laws and stuff like that. So I don't see what they're talking about here. They have all the laws right here. Like they have the 14th Amendment here and all that, and the 1964 where, you know, obviously where you're making it to where you can't discriminate. So it's already here. You're just being greedy and wanting reparations for something that people just didn't do, and that's just disgusting. But of course, black people are just going to continue to do this. They're going to continue to demand white people pay for things, and because they are just too lazy to do anything else. By the way, as I said multiple times before, if I get paid reparations, it's just going to my family members or friends. That's just the way it is. If you black people have a problem with that, then you can kiss my ass. So that's pretty much how aggressive I'm going to be there. Alright guys, that's it for a video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted, because it's algorithmic disease, the social media.